Welcome along to the press conference for the QIPCO British Champions Day, the grand finale to the flat season when Champions of the Turf 2016 will be crowned and some £4.2 million in prize money will be distributed, making it the nation's richest race day. Not only that, but this is the only race day stage in Britain that hosts 4 Group 1 races, and it is saturated in quality. Few will remember the performances of the mighty Frankel in this a few years ago, Muhara last year, and even old favourite Days on the inaugural running of British Champions Day. Not only that, but we'll also be crowning the Stobart Flat Jockeys Champion of the season, all being well, likely to be Jim Crowley, and the champion owner as well on the day. Now, over the course of the next half hour, we're going to be talking to some of the connections hoping to take home the lion's share of that 4.2 million in prize money and trying to find out a few clues of how who might come out on top on the day. We've got the 5-day entries for you as well for all 6 of our races. But of course, the event would not be possible without the hugely generous support of QIPCO, not only financially but also in terms of the innovation and creativity that they've brought to make this a truly unique event. Well, Sheikh Fahed's representative David Redvers joins us here for the press conference to look ahead to Saturday's event. David, welcome along. 5 years now under the belt. How impressed have you been with how this event's grown in both stature and status?
It's tremendous. It's a realisation of an ambition of ours. I know Sheikh Fahed and his brothers are delighted that the event keeps growing in stature year on year, and we just want the upward curve to keep going. Again, we look like we've got some of the best racing in the year anywhere in the world on Saturday, and that's something to be very proud of.
And in terms of innovations, we've seen changes year on year, increases in prize money, more this year, and I imagine you're probably not finished yet.
Well, what we'd love to do, obviously, is have a clean sweep of Group 1s. That's got to be the next major ambition. And obviously with that comes more prize money. So, you know, we want it to be widely respected as the greatest racing day in the world in the year, and we keep making giant strides towards it.
Of course, it's been hugely beneficial for the racing industry, this support. But what is it about the British Champion Series that attracted QIPCO? What have they got out of the sponsorship?
Well, when the idea was first mooted, Sheikh Fahed became very enthusiastic about anything that would bring racing to a wider audience. And the idea of simplifying the story, of giving a finale for the season that everybody could look forward to, rather than having, you know, the greatest racing event in the very beginning or the middle of the season, to have something that everything pointed towards. That was something that really excited him, because he could see of a way that he could actually make a positive difference to our sport. And I think that has obviously also, from a commercial point of view, brought QIPCO's name in lights to a wider audience, and that helps them in their own business. But it was very largely done in the first place to make a positive difference for British racing, and I think it'd be a hard man or woman who would say that that hasn't been the case.
Well, let's talk about some of the runners you're looking forward to showcasing on Saturday. Who comes out on top? Who's the one Sheikh Fahed's most excited about?
Well, it's got to be a simple verse coming back to try and win again on Champions Day. We've still got both options open. Obviously, we've seen the runners now at the 5-day stage, and Sheikh Fahed and Rafe and I will sit down and make a firm decision as where we go in the next day or two. I suspect the O'Brien horse in the stairs race makes it a whole load more difficult for us, but we, you know, there's no such thing as an easy race on Champions Day, and if there was, it wouldn't be living up to its billing. So the mare is in great form. We know that she loves this time of year, and we know that she's back to her best. I suspect we'll see the best of her over the 2 miles, but you know, there's lots of other issues to be resolved over her. Are we staying in training next year, which obviously the racing public would love to see, and therefore, you know, do we go staying, or do we try and retain our crown in the Group 1? Obviously, if I think it's fair to say that if the stairs race was a Group 1, which it now deserves to be, that she would be going there. But that conversation will be had over the next few days.
Okay, and you've got plenty of other runners as well. Would Palisade go in the long distance cup, perhaps?
Certainly, if she doesn't, he will definitely go. So yes, that's more than likely he will run in that.
He's mellowing in his old age, isn't he? Or his work rider might not agree with that.
Well, Sheikh Fahed volunteered him to me for a charity race at Aintree on the 23rd of October, But I'm not sure Sir Mark would approve, and I'm not sure I would.
I'm not sure you'd want that, no.
Or for that matter, my wife or children. But no, he does appear to be mellowing. There's a great story with him, and everybody always looks forward to seeing him go out onto the track. And Oisin seems to have a very good relationship with him, which is tremendous. He's not remotely fazed by the horse. So yeah, no, they're doing a great job. So we've got him, and then we've got Lightning Spear, who's the other horse I'm particularly looking forward to in the QE2.
And Mountain Belle, quick word on the progressive filly. Will she be lining up on Saturday in the Fillies and Mares?
I've got to talk to Rafe about that. That was the plan. But we have to have a discussion, see how she is, and I'm chasing him around at the yearling sales at the moment, trying to catch hold of him to find out what his latest is.
We wish you the best of luck on Saturday for the event and with all the Shakes runners as well.
Thanks very much. Good luck.
Thank you to David Redvers then. Time now to have a closer look at some of those 5-day entries, and of course where better to start than with the jewel in the crown on British Champions Day, QIPCO British Champions Stakes. A Group 1 contest over the 10 furlong trip, 1.3 million in the prize fund, and there are 19 runners left in at this stage, and what a renewal we have this year round. Just having a quick flick through, we have last year's winner of the race, Fascinating Rock, out to try and defend his crown. No Harzan, but Dermot Weld will be represented by Fascinating Rock. Several from the Aidan O'Brien camp, who's of course looking to beat Bobby Frankel's record of Group 1 wins in a season. Could he take a few on Champions Day? It's looking more than likely. He's got Highland Reel still in there. Found she could come here after her Arc success as well. Al Manzour swerved the Arc, the brilliant winner of the Irish Champion Stakes, just for this race, and he's a hugely exciting horse for Jean-Claude Rouget. Godolphin represented by Hawk, Bill Midterm, who missed the Arc in there as well, and Minding on the Aidan O'Brien team as well. But of course, one of the most fascinating runners in the lineup is Jack Hobbs, who has returned to action from a pelvic injury. We haven't seen him since the Jockey Club Stakes at Newmarket, and I'm delighted to now welcome his trainer to speak to us about his chances, Mr. John Gosden. How is he? From what we saw of him working at Kempton, John, he looked in sparkling form.
Yeah, he's in great form. We're very pleased to hopefully have him back on Saturday. It's a particularly easy race to come back in, I thought. The field is not only deep, but very strong. And I don't think we're under any illusions. I thought Almansor's performance in the Irish Champion was undoubtedly the best performance of any 3-year-old this year. In fact, any horse this year in Europe. I thought it was quite scintillating, his acceleration. So I see him clearly as the horse to beat. But with 19 round there, if they all stand their ground, you're going to have a bit of luck in running.
It's going to be an exciting contest. And do you get the feeling from what you've seen from him at home, obviously it's a long time off the track, that he's back to his very best, because that best is good enough to be mixing it in here?
Yeah, he's strengthened well through he's had the summer off, and actually he's given the time to develop. And given his sire, they get better with age. So strangely enough, I think the time has benefited him enormously. He's in great order for it. 1.25 miles is no problem for him. But you know, he's not a type that's ring rusty. He won very well first time out as a 3-year-old, but we're aware we're coming back in a fantastic renewal of the race.
Just excited to be involved, I imagine.
Yes, indeed.
And you've got Shalar, who looked really impressive, I thought, in the Bengoff Stakes, coming back, going for the sprint. How much has he come on since that run?
The run's, put him right. I mean, he probably went in about 80% fit, so now he's exactly where we want him. It was very fortunate the race was there at Ascot just 2 weeks before. It's close enough, but with sprinters, I think that's fine. I've been very happy with him since. We'll do a little breeze tomorrow morning with Frankie, and if we're pleased with that, then it's all systems go. He's obviously missed really all of the season, but with a bit of luck, we have him back for the big one here.
That's again a cracking renewal, isn't it, the sprint this year? Do you feel he's up there still with the best of them?
Yeah, I think he's retained all of his ability, and he's a wonderful mind on him, so he's ready to run a great race in what is a fabulous sprint. It really is. I mean, these fields we talked about have such depth of quality. They are truly championship races.
And very quickly, Journey, will she go in the Fillies and Mares?
She was second in it last year, and she'll definitely be having a go again. I see a lot standing their ground there. Aidan's got some wonderful fillies, obviously. Maybe Minding's more like the champion. I don't know. I'm not going to sort of second guess him with Seven Heaven there. So, look, it's a very, very polished version of the race. I must say, being a trainer, you were looking for smaller, easier fields, but these are certainly monstrous fields.
They certainly are. Well, best of luck with all of your runners on Saturday.
Thank you.
Thanks to Mr. Gosden. Well, let's see if we can second-guess Aidan O'Brien's plans for the weekend. Kevin Buckley, their UK representative, joins me now, and I think decisions will be made with the shuffling of the pack over the next few days, Kevin. But that said, amongst the entries, you've got some superstars, Found, Minding still in there. Any idea at this stage what we might see in the big race?
Not for definite yet, Gina. As you can appreciate, Aidan's got to put his finishing touches on all the entries likely tomorrow. Wednesday, then he's going to discuss everything with Mr. Magna Tabor and Mr. Smith and see what they want to do and where they want to place them.
And wherever they go, we're expecting a 1, 2, 3, as is the want this season.
All 1, 2.
Well, Found in particular, I mean, obviously an ARC win last time out. She's off for the Breeders' Cup, and it's just brilliant that it's even been considered that she might be able to run in all three like she did last year. She's been such a tough mare for you.
Yeah, you just took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what she did last year, and hopefully we'll do it again this year with her and hopefully go one better.
Yeah, and Minding as well. She's had a brilliant season. I imagine she'll appreciate that little break she's had since the Irish Champion Stakes. Yeah,
she will, and of course with Minding, she's very versatile on distance, don't forget, you know, so there's lots of options there for her on Saturday.
And we've got Seventh Heaven in the Fillies and Mares at this stage. She was also a really exciting filly. I remember seeing her back in the Lingfield Oaks trial, and at that stage you thought this could be the real deal. She's gone on and proved that at the top level, so she must be one they're really excited about as well.
Yeah, you know, and she's in very good form. I'm looking forward to seeing her, because obviously going on from Lingfield, where I was present, you know, probably didn't handle Epsom exactly, but things got back on track, and obviously very decisive win up in New York last time.
An Order of St George in the Long Distance Cup. Obviously, he ran a cracker in the Arc. He's amongst the entries as well. But Kevin, I mean, it has been a wonderful season. Aidan O'Brien looking to surpass Bobby Frankel's record of 25 Group 1 wins. He scored his 20th on Saturday. Do you think he can do it?
Well, I hope he can, but it's a big ask. You know, the record stood for a long time. But, you know, with the options of the races on Saturday and obviously in Canada, Racing Post Trophy in Doncaster, and taking America into consideration, it's not beyond bounds of possibility.
Brilliant. Well, we wish you the best of luck with all of the runners on Saturday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gina.
So that is a look at the key connections for the QIPCO British Champions Stakes, the big race on Saturday. But of course, we're not done there, because 4 Group 1s on the card. So let's move on to the QE2, which is another fascinating division this year. £1.1 million in the prize fund, no less. It is, of course, a Group 1 over the mile. And some really exciting past winners have graced the turf in this. Frankel, of course, Celebration, Olympic Glory, and Solo, who was last year's winner. This year's renewal looks equally intriguing. It's been a division that has flip-flopped between the likes of Galileo Gold, who dominated in the early part of the season. The mantle was taken up by the Gurkha, who sadly won't run in this, and Ribchester, who's really come to the fore towards the latter part of the season. So just having a look through some of the entries for this then, there are still 14 remaining. We've mentioned some of the key contenders, but just to make up the lineup as well, Lightning Spear, who was touched upon by David Revers earlier on for Qatar Racing Limited. Ortad will be in there for Mr. Hamdan Al-Maktoum for Kevin Prendergast, who's looking to finish his season with a bang as well. Ribchester, as mentioned, in the Godolphin colours, and Stormy Antarctic for Ed Walker, a horse who showed so much promise in the early part of the season. He was a Craven Stakes winner, and he bounced back to form with an excellent second over in France recently, and I'm delighted to say the trainer is now joining us now to talk through his chances. Ed, we've seen him in France the last twice, a much more encouraging run the first time round, but what happened last time? Tactically, you felt it went against him in the Marwa?
Yeah, I think we're probably guilty of worrying about one horse too much. We're drawn next to Galileo Gold, and the plan was to keep it simple and just tuck in behind him, and if good enough, go and beat him. You know, we sort of knew he'd go forward, and knew he was very tough, and he'd obviously proved to be a very good horse, and we felt that he was the one to beat, and he over-raced, and the pace was just too strong up front and teed it up for finishers, for closers, and I think we were caught up in that fast pace and paid the price at the end.
And do you feel that you've got him right back to his best now? Have you always felt that he could land a big race like this?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you finish second in 2 Group 1s and both be a fluke. You know, I think he's definitely good enough. He hasn't had a huge amount of luck so far this season, since he won the Craven so well, and things haven't really gone his way. And then we were hoping to get a confidence booster and a prep race into him before the QE2, and he got the dreaded cough that's been going around Newmarket all summer, so we had to miss either a run in Italy or in the pre-Daniel Wildenstein. So that was frustrating, but he's come out of that great, and he's in cracking form now. He goes into it fresh. We know he runs very well fresh. So we're really up for it, and it's a championship race, but he's in great order.
And looking at the field, there might not be the most obvious pace angle in there. Is he quite tactically versatile, both with regards to pace and also the ground? I know you'd probably prefer a little bit more give underfoot.
Yeah, I think any rain would be welcome. He proved in the Jean Prat that he goes on faster ground when he was second behind Zelzal. And tactically, yeah, he just needs to settle, and that's the key with him, really. I think he's got a very, very good turn of foot. And he was just a little bit free in the Marois, but he settled great in the Jean Prat and obviously ran a tremendous race. And if he really switches off and George can get him switched off in the QE2, I expect him to be finishing really well.
Well, Ed, we wish you the best of luck on Saturday.
Great, thanks, Gina.
So Stormy Antarctic, another of the fascinating runners to make up the lineup for the Queen Elizabeth II Stakes. Now, of course, the sprint division has been one which has really lit up the turf this season. We've got Mecca's Angel, Quiet Reflection and Lamato all vying for championship honours. And last year's winner of this race, Muhara, of course, went on to be crowned champion sprinter. So let's have a look at the lineup. 17 in the mix for this Group 1 still. And amongst them, some really exciting horses, including the likes of Librisa Breeze, who's a fascinating runner. Maybe could have gone for the Balmoral handicap, but has opted to go for the sprint, having looked really impressive last time out at Ascot. Lamato is still in there. The Tin Man, who's run some brilliant races this season as well. Twilight Sun, Shalar, who we've already heard from Mr. Gosden about. Washington DC, Mecca's Angel, and of course the Haydock Sprint Cup winner, Quiet Reflection. But Mr. Henry Candy joins me now, talking about his two runners. You've got Lamato and Twilight Sun both in at the moment. Have you made any decisions about which we might see on Saturday, or both?
Well, I think we'll have to hang on as long as we can with Lamato. If the ground stays good, then he'll run, that, which means that they'll both run. But there is quite a bit of rain forecast on Friday night into Saturday. If it turns soft, then I'm afraid we would have to take Lamato out.
Okay, well, let's pretend he's in for the moment. The most versatile, consistent horse in training. He's been an absolute star, and he showed no signs of stopping in the foray last time. Of course, he came close to winning over 5 furlongs as well in the Nunthorpe. Does this horse just continue to amaze you?
He does. I mean, he was a tiny little horse at 2 and not much better at 3, yet his form was fantastic. But just over last winter and into this spring, he developed, and he's grown a lot, thickened a lot, and he's a much better horse now. As you say, it doesn't really matter whether he runs over 5, although I think that is just a touch quick for him. But anywhere from 6 to a mile, he's not bothered.
And he seems to really thrive on his racing. Is that important to just keep him on the go now?
There again, he's changed totally and completely. In his young days, he had to have a long time between his races. That's really why he got beaten in the foray last year, because I'd run him at Doncaster too close before. Now he does seem to take his races much better. Earlier on in the year, if you'd said you could run him twice in a fortnight, I'd have thought you were mad, but it does seem to be a possibility now. The horse has changed completely.
And Twilight Sun, who ran so well in this to finish second to Muhara last time, obviously you've missed it a bit with him. Does that make a difference to him? Would you prefer to have got a prep run in?
No, there again, I think he's changed quite a bit through the year. He was very sort of gross and idle early on, and I was having to take him to racecourses to give him a racecourse gallop before he ran. He's working really well now. He seems very happy, and I think he's probably almost better fresh now, so I'm not bothered about that.
So you're pleased with both contenders going into Saturday. It's a very hot division, isn't it, with the likes of Quiet Reflection and Mecca's Angel in there, but confident yours two can, if they run, give a good showing?
I think they'll be there or thereabouts, yes. I think obviously Shalar, if he improves as much as John thinks he has, then he'll probably be the one to beat, and Quiet Reflection's very, very good. And you have to throw in the Tin Man as well. It's a very, very hot race.
It certainly is, one of the best in the division, I think. Mr. Candy, very good luck on Saturday.
Thank you very, very much.
So that is a look at our sprint. Let's take a look at the champion Fillies and Mares race next, which for which 19 have stood their ground. Again, it's worth a huge amount of prize money, £650,000 in the pot. It's over the 1.5 miles. It's a Group 1 contest, and past winners have included included some really good horses, the likes of Dancing Rain, and last year's St Ledger winner, of course, Simple Verse, who we heard about from David Redvers a little bit earlier on in the piece. Will she go for this, or will she extend for the Long Distance Cup? Well, those decisions are going to be made in the next couple of weeks. But let's have a look at the entries for this at the 5-day stage. 19 of them in total, and some fascinating runners. Of course, recent winner of the Opera in France, Speedy Boarding, who's had a brilliant season for James Fanshawe. Of course, it'll be the big showdown between Godolphin and the Magnia Tabor Derek Smith axis to try and come out on top as champion owner. So they'll be looking to get as many on the board as possible, and they're well represented here with Minding, Pretty Perfect and Seventh Heaven, a good winner of the Yorkshire Oaks last time amongst the entries. The Nassau runner-up, Queen's Trust, in there, and Promising Run, who will be representing Godolphin in the field. So plenty of interesting runners to talk about. And we're going to focus on one of them in particular, trained by Mr. Rafe Beckett, Simple Verse, and they could be represented as well by Mountain Belle, I believe. Rafe, we've heard from David already about Simple Verse. You're obviously really, really pleased with how she's been going based on what she did last time at Doncaster.
Yeah, it was good effort, wasn't it, Gina? You know, she got in trouble 2-3 down and got herself out of trouble and managed to get there in time. So it was great. You know, it was great. It was a great effort. It was a good effort, I felt, and she showed all her old fire. So.
And there's a lot of decisions, of course, with regard to Trip and whether she stays in training and everything. But based on that performance, what would be your feeling towards targets on Saturday?
I think we won't decide until declaration time on Thursday. And it would depend on ground and how we felt the race was shaping up. At the moment, I'd probably lean more towards the Long Distance Cup because I feel that her optimum is further than 1.5 miles. Obviously, you know, she's got to run against Colts and Geldings then, but that doesn't really worry me. She gets a weight allowance, obviously, and you know, she stays so well that I'd be keen to go 2 miles rather than drop back.
Hopefully we'll see Mountain Belle as well on Saturday. No, we won't.
We won't see Mountain Belle, no. We decided this morning that she'll wait for the St Simon Stakes the following week. So we thought about it and in the end decided not to.
That said, I'm sure a win on Champions Day like last year with Simple Verse is something that would really crown the season for you. Is it something you target a long way out in your season?
I think, yeah, I think we all, you know, factor it in now. If you've got horses of that level, I think we all want to run there. For her, I always felt that this weekend was likely to, if we had her in the right shape, was likely to be should be her target for the whole year. And she had a good break after Ascot and came back well, as you saw at Doncaster. So let's hope it all fits together on Saturday.
Much of the same on Saturday. Well, best of luck.
Thanks, Gina. Thank you.
Thank you to Rafe Beckett, who's got some good chances across the card as well and has had another brilliant season. Well, let's move on. We've spoken about the Fillies and Mares to the Long Distance Cup, which is where we quite possibly will be seeing last year's winner of the Fillies and Mares, Simple Verse, if that interview is anything to go by. Of course, the Long Distance Cup is a 2-mile contest. It is the final leg of the long distance category, and it's worth £350,000. This year, we've got some fascinating contenders, as always, including 2 former Gold Cup winners. We've got Trip to Paris in there amongst the entries for Ed Dunlop, and also Order of St George, who's proved himself to be extremely versatile, finished third over the 1.5 miles in the Arc last time. Palisator, who we've heard about from David Redvers a little bit earlier on. Last year's winner of the race, Forgotten Rule, last year's winner 2 years ago, Forgotten Rules, the winner is returning to try and regain his crown. Of course, Flying Officer won it last year, who's not in the lineup this year. Nearly Caught, Litigant, who's an old favourite in these staying races for Joe Shute, and also Sugio for Dr. Marwan Kukash and Richard Fahy. So another really good lineup, but of course there's no more popular stayer really than the 7-year-old Sheikh Zayed Road, who has been doing so well this season. He had a brilliant success last time out. He's trained by David Simcock, a horse who's earned over £700,000 in prize money. So not a bad one to have in the stable, David.
No, he's a lovely old horse. You know, he has his quirks, but generally he's very honest, and he's extremely consistent.
And how pleased have you been since his last run?
Yeah, delighted. I mean, he's a very straightforward horse to train. He's very clean-winded, takes no training. So, you know, it's quite simple, and he'll turn up fit and well on the day, and, you know, he'll run his race.
Doing yourself an injustice, I think. You've managed to keep a horse like that on the go and I mean, cherry pick these big races. When did this race come on your radar? Has it been the plan all season?
Yeah, I mean, we consciously made the plan at the end of last year that we were going down the 2-mile route. He started off in Dubai, winning a Group 3 over a mile 6, and then we gave him an English campaign, sort of, you know, the normal route, if you like. Took in all the Cup races, and you know, he's been very consistent in them. He was 3rd at Royal Ascot, 3rd at Glorious Goodwood. He won the Doncaster Cup, so you know, he's fully entitled to take a chance here.
Quest for More's franked the form, and of course he's, as you say, been mixing it with the very best of them. In terms of this year's lineup, what do you make of it as a renewal?
Yeah, I think the whole race revolves around one horse. If Order of St George turns up, he'll take a lot of beating. Listen, he had a hard race in the Arc, but you know, that doesn't really put Aidan and the team off, and you know, they're very good at backing their horses up, and you know, and what he did in the Ascot Gold Cup, he'll take a terrific amount of beating. Hopefully
yours will be right in the mix. Never underestimate him. I think that's the punter's motto with him. Good luck on Saturday.
Thanks, Gina.
Thank you to David Simcock with his runner in the QIPCO British Long Distance Cup. Now, of course, it's not all about the group races and the 4 Group 1s on the card. There's also the hugely exciting QIPCO Balmoral Handicap, which is the richest mile handicap race in Europe. £250,000 in the pot. This is the 2nd year in existence, and it was won by Musadas last year, who was ridden by the promising apprentice Eddie Greatrex, who can often throw up a name to watch. Now, of course, a huge field at present. We'll find out who runs with the final declarations later in the week, but 45 stand their ground currently, and some real old favourites over the mile, including a former winner of this race in Bronze Angel. We've got some fascinating runners for the handicap king, Richard Fahey, as well, including 3rd Time Lucky. A little bit further down, the likes of Dinkum Diamond for Henry Candy, GM Hopkins, who's always a favourite in these mile races as well, and Chill the Kite for Hughie Morrison, weekend's winner of the Cesarewitch, and Chill the Kite is always one that seems to pop up when faced with a big handicap. But Betfair's Barry Orr joins me now, and he's going to try and decipher a couple of those that might be the well-backed ones on the day and those that are heading the market. Barry, how's it taking shape at the moment?
I suppose the big news this morning, Gina, is that Libriza Breeze is going to go for the sprint and is not going in this race. It was a 6-1 favourite, Dean Ivory's horse, but now it's 8-1 to field at the moment. It looks a really, really competitive betting. He'd carry on Derek for Syed Bin Sarur, currently an 8-1 chance, along with Sacred Act for John Gosson, who has been really well supported throughout so far. Firmament in there at 8-1 as well. So co-favourites at 3 at 8-1, the top 3 in the market. After that, Very Talented in there at 10-1 has been well supported. Also Dutch Law at 12-1. So as befitting a race where it's £155,000 to the winner, it's a very competitive betting heat, and it's a race that the bookmakers all we look forward to on Champions Weekend.
I was going to say, in terms of the money taken, obviously the Group 1s are the popular ones amongst the industry and amongst the purists, but for the punters, this is one they really get stuck into.
This is the one they really, really do enjoy, and it's a massive race. It's a big Saturday race, a big Saturday handicap. It's going to be a full complement of runners, and like I said, £155,000 to the winner. It's not an insignificant pot, and there's trainers have been plotting horses for this race throughout the season.
That's right, we can try and work out which ones are going to come out on top. Thank you very much, Barry.
Thanks, Gina.
So Betfair's Barry Orr looking ahead to the Balmoral Handicap, and that concludes our 5-day entries for all 6 of our championship races on Saturday in the country's richest race day. As always, we love to encourage your social interaction through the usual means, so do make sure you get in touch on the build up to Saturday using the hashtag Champions Day. And for tickets, of course, if you want to head down to Ascot, it's all available on the website www.britishchampionseries.com. And that concludes the QIPCO British Champions Day press conference 2016. Enjoy Saturday and best of luck.